ASEAN. So just a little bit about CER. It aims to revolutionize the corporate startup linkage and to create innovative business ideas in the future. So this session is to talk about how they're able to achieve that. So I'd like to welcome the speakers on board. Ashran from the CEO of Magic, Rajate, she's the CEO of Leong Islamic Bank, and our esteemed moderator, Ebrahim Patel, the chairman of Young Leaders Network, WIEF Foundation.
Program director, I don't know if I'm esteemed, but I'm going to do something that's going to upset the camera. I'm going to move my chair slightly because I can't see Ashran.
I can move my chair.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, startups and VCs that are present. We're going to be chatting about a rather exciting topic for me, which is corporate entrepreneurship responsibility. When I first saw that word, I thought to myself, corporates and entrepreneurship, misnomer. And I've been trying to get corporates to become entrepreneurial at the same time. But it raises some very exciting concepts for us in the discussion. And we have two esteemed panelists with us today. Rajate, who is a well-known, dynamic CEO of an Islamic bank in Malaysia. Can I give you a punt on Leong Islamic Bank? But more than that, she's an alert outdoors person. So when she's not fighting corporate battles, she's riding up into the wild tracts of nature reserves and finding her inner peace. Ashran, on the other hand, has done some fantastic things. He's gone from corporate to entrepreneurship, to being CEO of Magic, which is supporting entrepreneurs and startups. So he doesn't know where he's placed at the moment, whether he's in the corporate world or in the entrepreneurship world, but he plays on both sides. So it's great to have both of you here with us. Gives us a great feel of the subject, which I think is quite exciting. So I'm going to ask the first question to the corporate boardroom CEO. What is your concept of corporate entrepreneurship responsibility? What does it really mean?
Good morning, everybody. How many startups have we got in the room? Okay, I just wanted to start out by saying that I work for Leong, which is a huge conglomerate. And he started out, my chairman started out 50 years ago trading motorcycles. And he's now the third richest man in Malaysia, and the family is the sixth richest in Asia. So I'm just saying that you can all start from somewhere. And just from trading motorcycles, we still have the motorcycle business, which is Yamaha, and is the most successful franchise outside of Japan, to many, many other things. So for us, we are perhaps a little different than the regular conglomerates corporate. We're not GLC. We are entrepreneurial driven, so our entire DNA is still very much entrepreneurial. Though, since we've become very big, and especially a financial institution, we are governed, in terms of governance, we're institutional. Something that you might want to think about as you grow bigger. So for me, corporate entrepreneurial responsibility is a notion that's not known at all in this country. In this country, most corporates is imposed on corporates to undertake CSR. And Ashran has got a few things to say about that as well, I'm sure later. As you know, especially if you're a public listed company, you are expected to undertake some CSR, and you have to report your CSR activities. So there's a whole social thing it is imposed on organizations whether or not they believe in it. So some organizations have taken it up really, and it's part of the DNA. They're institutions with souls, some are not. But we think today, this whole CSR thing is very much the story about giving the fish. And so the same guys 10 years and you're still giving him the fish. So CER, in our view, is very much giving him the rod. However, the approach to CER for many organizations is they're uncomfortable with it, because there's an element of giving to somebody who's supposed to make money. So in many instances, institutions feel that CSR really, I give unconditionally, and really to the needy. You're asking money to make money, and you're not really in tattered jeans. All the tattered jeans are supposed to be cool. But you know what I mean? So they cannot reconcile that CR is part of a program that is actually good for all of mankind. So we don't quite have that yet. So what, at least in Hong Leong, we're just actually trying to work it out with Magic actually, is to create a social financing program. And this is my view about corporate entrepreneur relationship responsibility. If we do it, I want us to do it right. I don't want it to be like CSR. I don't want it to give money to you for you to make money, and then after that you keep coming back and ask me money because you want to expand. The idea of CR to us is to be able to give you some money as seed. A year or two, you grow, you must pay us back, so that that money can be recycled for the next entrepreneur, the next startup. And this is a conversation that at least the banks are having. Actually, the governor himself initiated this conversation recently. We had to present it in front of him. And because none of the banks want to do microfinancing, because you lot are not very profitable. And giving money, 50,000, credit assessment is as difficult as giving money 50 million credit assessment. So don't waste our time. So instead, we're taking it outside the credit conversation into developing something that with a social angle, but we must be able to recycle. So coming back to your question, just very briefly, it is about, to me, is about facilitating startups and enterprises in a sustainable way where we can get the funding to go on and on and on from a small pot.
But now you've created a problem, because I had 10 questions I was going to ask you, and you've answered all of them for me already. But let me ask Ashran, does CER, to me, is it just another fad that the companies are coming up with? Is it something that's just going to be fashionable for a short time, like CIR? The rest of it is just those fashionable things for a time.
Well, coming from my point of view, and I hear what Rajate was saying just now also in that context, right? Number one, the wish and hope that it's not. The term itself has not been used as much as CSR, for instance. Every single organization uses the term CSR, and there's a certain connotation to that term itself. But when we talk about corporate entrepreneurship, and if I were to just take a slightly extended stance from what Raja was describing just now, it's getting corporates to be involved in entrepreneurship development. But having said that, because as you rightly pointed out, I almost sit in both sides of the world before, and it tends to get confusing sometimes when you're trying to mishmash, but having that benefit also allows me to have insights in terms of what a corporate will be thinking of, right? And you can't go to a corporate and say, please help me because we want to help a whole bunch of other entrepreneurs. While it sounds good on the surface, but from a reality point of view, when we talk to corporates about CER, it's how can we come in to help strategically align your entrepreneurship development goals with your corporate organizational goals. So even at Magic, for instance, when we talk to corporates, we actually talk to them from one angle is that, look, if you want to look at the organizational innovation, right, work with Magic, for instance, to actually innovate via startups. Because in the sectoral space, for instance, we live in a world, and no fault of any individual, that there's pseudo-mental fixedness in terms of trying to innovate. But if you were to tap from the outside circle, where the point of view is one where there's no holds barred, why can't we do this, why can't we do that, and you mash up those two elements through, I think we'll be able to grow and build a much more sustainable, viable startup on the get-go, as opposed to the perception right now that's a bit more high risk within that space itself.
So how does a corporate, Rajate, you mentioned about giving fish and giving a rod. How does a corporate then determine or decide whether they're going to be spending money on buying the fish or buying the rod?
I would like to think there are a lot of kind souls out there, but the reality is a lot of public listed companies in this country give money largely because it's a requirement. So what we need to work is pretty much what Ashran is saying. CSR is a known term. We just need to get the regulators or who's ever imposing on these things to include CER as part of CSR. Because for as long as it doesn't help them in their objectives, i.e. meeting the requirements of the regulators to give out money, they won't even think about the rod. And so that's something that we need to work on, which is something which I feel a lot of startups have not quite looked at. I think we discussed this among ourselves, that for a lot of companies, we have an X amount that we have to give away every year, CSR. But we don't think of startups as recipients to the CSR money. So we have to work on this fancy word, like you say, CER. It may sound a bit faddish, but I think fat works sometimes. And so, Ashran, you've got to use that word a little bit more, okay?
Not a problem.
Use CER and say CER is an extension of CSR. Yeah. And what you need to do, all you startups here, if you need some seed money, you should approach these PLCs by saying that if you help me do this, I will create something that's good enough for you to post onto your annual report. So social enterprises work well in this arena, not so much just a regular startup. Because if you're a social enterprise, then there is that CSR element. So amongst you, there are some social enterprises. If they are just pure profit-making, Jewish type of company, maybe not. But if you have a social enterprise kind of an element, I think you might help the whole industry by educating people that this is actually an extension of CSR. And that will be a lot easier for the CSR guy within those organizations to say, okay, you don't want a fish today, you want a rod? Okay, whatever, I'll give you the rod instead of the fish. Really, they don't think very deeply into these things.
But Rajate, I think, while I'm perfectly cool with the whole idea of making CER an extension of CER, but I also worry that the frame of mind of the person that's driving a CSR, not the one receiving, the guy at the corporate side, that's on the driver's seat at CSR, has a certain frame of mind. And that frame of mind is very much, you're right to say when it's social enterprise or social impact type of initiative for startup, it may work relatively well. But the for-profit Jewish-like, the one that you're saying through, it may be not a viable option. And to some extent, I think organizationally, where that should reside is if organizations have an innovation department embedded within that. And that innovation department is not just looking at internal innovations directly, but it's looking at engaging with other ecosystem players around the circle to actually work with them. So it's almost combining the whole concept of open innovation to make sure that things can happen. That's scenario number one. But number two, I'm also quite excited when I went to see MasterCards, for instance, in Singapore. So there's the different tiers of startups that we talk about, right? So what MasterCard did was actually curated over a period of a year, 10 companies that they think that can help them value add. And as they curate this, they didn't offer them money, they didn't offer them anything else except market access. They brought these companies over into Singapore, because that's where I went, and MasterCard brought in a whole bunch of their current existing clients to come and meet up with them. So the selection of these companies, they have some prerequisites via these companies. You got to have raised capital already. Minimum to be able to last you 6 to 12 months, because to close the deal will take that long. You got to have local market traction already. But what MasterCard does is give that brand equity to that startup. that have got a local presence and now, with a switch of a button with MasterCard support, could actually be a global business almost instantly if they get the right code. So there are various aspects within the value chain, I guess, of things. It's trying to find the right corporate with the right appetite at that moment in time. I don't believe in force-feeding corporate also. Because with regards to CER especially, CSR, mungkin you can still wing it, but with CER, it's a deeper relationship. It's not something that is one-off. It should be mutually beneficial between both organizations. If we're working together on some things, I would love for it to be not just because kesian tengok the group, because it's compliance with Bursa, but some way that could give further value add to the organization, at the same time to the startups. That's how I see it at least.
I'd just like to say something. I truly believe in that because I'm doing the same. We have fintechs specifically, right? So we facilitate fintechs by, we don't give them any money, we don't give them any loans, but we allow them to run certain things so that they can put a brand and say, I've done this for Leong.
Exactly.
And if you've already done this for Leong, then you can sell it 10 times over. However, a lot of the others that I met, those have nothing to do with fintechs, and they come to me and say, okay, now you're really an agriculture guy or some social enterprise. So they can't come through the business side, they will have to come through my CSR side.
Oh, fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah, so I think that's a great point that Ashran brought up, is actually that there is a wide range. You have to look at different types of corporates that you want to tap in. So if you think you're a social enterprise, I think you can hit on your CSR button. But if you are doing a specific business, you have to look for the companies that you can say, look, I'm going to come and help you because this is a digital disruption to your business. Innovation is critical. The only reasons why we talk to fintech is because of the digital disruption. There's no other reason for me to otherwise sit down and talk to this bunch of guys and change the ways that we've been doing things for the last 100 years. And this is not just in the financial industry, in many various industries where the digital disruption is in your face. Some are not. The digital disruption is slow. So the innovation that you bring forth would have to be really compelling to them. And I think that's exactly what Ashran said. So if you are doing some agriculture stuff, please don't come and knock on the doors of a telco. Unless you're doing the social enterprise stuff.
Right.
So like for fintechs, it's easy for me to take on. Actually, I was inspired by MasterCard. I was in Dublin a couple of years ago.
Right.
It was in 10. In total, they had picked up 500 startups, 500 fintechs over time. And all they did was they gave them a place to work. I give you a place for work 3 months, show me your business plan. After 3 months, let me show whether you can come up with proof of concept. In about 6 months, whether we can commercialize it. If not, within 12 months, please go back to mommy. But that's what they did. And over time, from that 500, literally came about 22 by the time I saw those companies. It was less than 20. And so we were encouraged. We met so many. Some have great ideas, and after 3 months, it couldn't quite fit in. So if you look at the industry that you're in, look at the specific industry that you're in, and then understand the challenges of the traditional providers, that is when you can come and make a difference. And then they will come and, this is why I said the word is adopt you. So when you say a long-term relationship, it's adoption. The extension of CSR is not adoption. It is just to help you be a space on your CSR book. But that can work also. That can work also.
I think, Ashran, you will probably find CEOs of banks coming to you for entrepreneurship training. As fragmentation affects their businesses, they might be out of CEO positions. But let me open the floor. I'd like to give our audience some time to ask some questions. The serious questions, like, how do you access that CER funding? What do you need to say to that corporate in order to access that funding, to tap into that funding? How do you tailor that business plan? Maybe some of our audience would like to ask pertinent questions around that. We have got a mic.
Can I check?
There's a mic there.
Thank you. Can I check with you whether our CER is only within this domain or we are globally tied up because of Top Gun like you guys who are doing some work, meaning CER should not be just ASEAN or So can I know what milestone we have and how far we have reached so that we have more confidence of looking what is CER instead of CSR? Thank you.
Well, if I can just quickly respond to that briefly. The term itself is relatively new. It's not something that's been propagated too much out there. But I think, while terms are important, but let's look at the spirit of things first. The spirit of things is actually how do you get corporates to be more involved in entrepreneurship development? And you can slice and dice that in so many ways. And Rajate shared a few ways in how her organization has been doing that. You've got a few other options that other corporates are doing also. But the key, and what Ebrahim was saying just now, is how do you find that match between what you're doing and what the organization wants to achieve, be it a CSR goal objective or some other strategic objective. And I think from a Hong Kong point of view also, it's taking both. The fact that it's taking a fintech space as a strategic goal, but it also looks at CSR because there are certain things that it wants to comply with and so forth. So as entrepreneurs, as you guys out there, you got to understand what corporates have, what they're looking for, and kind of see whether what you are offering fits whatever they are putting on the table or not, as opposed to going cold calling randomly just because they are a corporate. But my aspiration in regards to CER, just like how, like nowadays, the financial sector perhaps and the telco sector is very much in tune, just because both of these sectors are heavily disrupted at this moment. My aspiration from a magic point of view is that that same philosophy is taken out into multiple verticals out there. There are larger organizations within agriculture, for instance, that wants to take that approach. There are other organizations that in other space, in healthcare or in lifestyle area, that wants to take that. Granted, they may be slightly slow because the market is not as fast perhaps, but I think if there's enough blend of motivation to make sure that there is a bottom line aspect that could achieve, and that's what corporate really looks for through, I think a bottom line goal for CER is not a bad thing. Because the corporate wants bottom line, the startup needs bottom line too. And if both are working hand in hand with new ideas trying to achieve bottom line, because kadang-kadang you leave startups to startups, they are too absorbed with the whole idea of the idea essentially. Then you lose out that factor. And I think the first session just now, with Dr. Siva, Nadira, Mahdi, and a whole bunch of other guys, was talking about basically, core fundamentals of business still cannot run far away. Don't run away and say, no, we got to get traction first before you can make money. I don't think that's applicable in these days of age, right? It's really fundamental core business that is really required out there.
Good. Another question. Not an interesting topic.
There's one at the back. Looks like a very familiar face, but yeah, there's one at the back.
I have two questions actually. What's the difference between corporate entrepreneurship responsibility and the vendor development program that we've seen that's been running for donkey's years in TNB and Petronas and Telecom? They help a lot of startups too, right? So what's the difference? That's one. Number two is what's Hong Leong's position towards CER? Jeng, jeng, jeng.
I'll take the Hong Leong and he'll do the GLC vendor program. Like I said, Hong Leong is a huge group. So within our group, we have different businesses. And each of the different businesses actually have been tasked with, let's say innovation is one of the key pillars of the Hong Leong group. And it's been a mantra that we've adopted for the last 50 years. We celebrated 50 years last year as a group. And so we are aware that in each of our industries, either steel or cement or our motorcycles, we have been disrupted. So therefore, each of our various businesses have looked into those disruptors, and we've worked with those disruptors, with those digital disruptors. That's how we extend in terms of corporate entrepreneurial responsibility. But to be honest, from our perspective, there's a little bit of both. Some of it is like we appreciate that, look, this poor guy probably needs a stamp of Hong Leong for him to move to the next round. But this poor guy, unless he can be of use to us, we're not going to take him on. So on that score, I just want to divert a little bit, 5 minutes, is that when all of you here in the startup space, whatever you do, like what Ashran was saying, the ideas that you have, it comes back to one thing that you can, whatever you want to do today, there is such a business in the traditional space. You want to do something differently, but using technology and innovation. The key thing that you must never forget is the customer experience. Whatever you do, no matter how fancy your app is, I already have 200 apps. I can quite easily forget what yours is about. So don't get caught up too much in the idea in itself, but take a journey, a customer journey. So those fintechs that we have adopted are those who've now figured out why we would adopt them. If you're just going to tell me that I can do mobile banking this way, I don't need you because I can digitize my existing processes. But I need you to tell me how things are, the journey might be different. Those are powerful startups. Or completely, of course, new ideas like, those days chat groups, think about it. But that those people who have come to us and said, look, if your loan origination takes from 14 different steps, I can give you a 3-step that doesn't compromise your credit and makes a wonderful journey for your clients. So those is our approach to CR.
Well, I think we're going to have to take the first question offline, because I'm trying to find the developer of the app that can make time extend itself so that we can have longer sessions. But I see our secretariat is passing hands to us to say time's up. But before we do that, I'd like to leave with 2 thoughts to both of you and to our audience. Should we not see that CER, corporate entrepreneurship responsibility, transcend to become corporate entrepreneurship investment, CEI? So it's corporates that are doing this out of a basis of investment rather than just because they've been compelled by a reporting authority to do so because of their balance sheet. Because then they've just been forced into it. They should do it out of understanding that it's a growth for the economy. The second part is that we need to have greater information from the corporates and from the other players in the ecosystem so that startups can understand what it is that those corporates require in order to access it. So maybe it's something that you can work on. So thank you very much to the audience, number 1, for being such a great audience and not asking too many questions because it made life easier for me. Raja Tes, CEO of Leong Islamic Bank, and Ashran Ghazi, CEO of Magic in Malaysia. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Raja, go photo.
One of those.
Okay, ready. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you.